$2,200 in car payments? Oh my gosh! What are you driving?
Here we go.
Yeah.
This ain't even my car. Somebody let me use it, bro.
This is the crazy world of the American auto market. American auto loan debt is at an all-time high, now standing at $1.6 trillion. And the crazy part, that's enough to buy every single residential home in New York City and still have money left over. So what do? We've built a society that pretty much requires a car to live in, but cars are now more expensive than ever. Americans have always had a strange relationship with vehicles. They're not just a form of transportation to us. They are status symbols, freedom machines, and for most, a measure of success. Cars allow you to travel the country and explore everything America has to offer. And they've been a staple in our lives since the first car rolled off the line at Henry Ford's factory. Not only that, but we're trained from a young age that a cool car means that someone is doing well. If you see your neighbor pull up in a brand new Lamborghini, he must be doing something right. But as financing and leasing options have become easier to get, that's starting to flip on its head a little bit. You see, the cars that used to provide us freedom and a journey through life are now turning into prisons of monthly payments, sometimes ruining people's lives off of a dumb decision they made just to look cool in front of some of their friends. But how did we get here? How could something so amazing turn into a trap for so many? And how did the car dealership industry turn into a loan dealership industry? To explain this further, let's break down what exactly happens when you show up at a dealership to purchase a brand new car. At the dealership, there are four main characters. Number one, you, the buyer. Number two, the dealer. The guy sitting across from you at the desk trying to sell you on that new SUV you just have to have. Number three, you have the manufacturer of the car. And finally, number four, the most important player that hides in the shadows, the bank. This is who really runs the show in the background. And if you're not careful, they will all work together to pull the hood over your eyes and sign you up for a loan that will leave you holding the bag in 5 years. And truthfully, we've seen this before. Remember back in 2008 when realtors were selling homes to individuals that might not necessarily have been able to afford them, but the banks bent the rules just to write another mortgage. And then all of a sudden, the whole house of cards came falling down. Car sales are kind of the same way. You walk into the dealership and you're approached by a salesman. That guy's job is to get you to feel an emotion about a car, get you to fall in love with it, or think about how safe your kids will feel in the back seat, or how cool you'll look pulling up to dinner in that new convertible. The tactics are simple, but humans are pretty simple-minded. If you tell us we're going to look cooler, feel safer, or feel wealthier, we can be easily convinced. So once the salesman gets you on the hook, he takes you back to his desk to talk numbers. As we all know, this can be an annoying back and forth process where you tell the salesman how much you want to spend, they run to their manager in the back, they yap about basically nothing because they already know what their price is going to be. Then the salesman comes back to you, provides you the new numbers, and this goes on and on until you agree on a price. Now, if you're not paying cash, this is where the greatest trick comes into play, the monthly payment. For some reason, our simple little brains are only concerned about short-term pain, and we will do everything we can to avoid it. This includes spreading out the cost of an item over a certain number of months to avoid paying the full amount today. This is the same thing as the buy now, pay later programs I mentioned in this video, but with a car, it can get even worse. Let me show you the car math that schools never teach you, but dealerships know completely by heart. A new car loses roughly 20% of its value in the first year, another 15% in year 2, and 10% more in year 3. Meanwhile, on an 84-month loan, you're only paying about 12% per year towards the amount you owe. The rest is all interest. This creates an equity gap that leaves most buyers owing $7,000 to $10,000 more than their car is worth by year 3, which is why nearly 1 in 4 trade-ins involve negative equity from the previous car. Basically, people are stuck in a debt spiral with no real way out. So let's look at an example. This is a 2025 BMW 3 Series that's listed for $50,000. If you were to put down 10%, which is pretty standard for auto loans, you would pay $5,000 today, which means your loan will be worth $45,000, which sounds somewhat reasonable. Your salesman will then suggest a 72-month loan, and assuming the 7.5% APR we're currently seeing in the market, your monthly payment will sit at about $780, not including taxes and other fees. So for $5,000 today and $780 per month for the next 6 years, you too can drive off the lot with a brand new BMW. Only problem is you're not actually signed up to pay $45,000 over the next 6 years. In fact, if you pay your loan off over the next 6 years without without missing a single payment, you will end up paying $56,160, which is over $10,000 more than the original loan amount. And if you show any signs of resistance, the salesman might even lure you in with a lower monthly payment by extending the term of the lease to 84 months. So now you only pay $690 per month. But your total amount then comes out to $62,960 if you include your down payment. And the truth is that BMW you drove off the lot just dropped 10% of its value, and it will never be worth $62,000. You see, dealers have mastered the art of psychological manipulation, and they like to use three main tricks. The first is referred to as the four-square method, where they will intentionally confuse you by juggling four variables at once: purchase price, down payment, monthly payment, and trade-in value, all designed to make you pay more and not really realize what's going on. They will write in big letters, scratch things out, flip the paper over, and write over previous numbers, pretty much just to wear you down and make you sign. The second trick they use is called the time pressure close, which is the art of making the deal you're being presented is only going to last for so long. They might even say that the deal is only available today, or that they have someone coming in this afternoon to look at the same car, all in the hopes that they will pressure you into making a decision in order to not lose out to someone else. And finally, the third trick they use is focusing all of your attention on the monthly payment. By steering the conversation away from the total price and towards the monthly payment, they're able to hide thousands in extra costs. For example, they can raise the price of the vehicle but lower the monthly payment by stretching the loan from 3 years to 6 years. By only focusing on the monthly payment, they're hoping that you don't realize that you just went from a 36-month payoff period to 72 months. All they want you to know is that your monthly payment went down by $100. So why do we do it? Why do Americans spend so much money on cars? Well, it's partially out of our control. Over the last 5 years, we've seen a perfect storm in the car market, driving prices to levels we've never seen before. During the pandemic, the supply of cars fell off a cliff due to computer chip shortages. The factories weren't making any new cars, and the car lots began to empty out. This drove the supply of cars into the ground, and the demand began to skyrocket, leading to even higher used car prices, especially with all the families moving out of the big cities into more suburban areas where they couldn't rely on public transportation as much. On top of that, inflation was close to 9%. So your dollar had almost 10% less buying power than it did in 2019. So as buyers, things were more expensive than ever, and our dollars could not keep up, leading us to where we are today. Spat out the other side of the pandemic with $1.6 trillion in auto loan debt. So what can we do to solve this? Well, if you're already in debt on a car, we first need to figure out how much debt you have on the car. So first, let's assess the damage. Going back to our BMW example earlier, let's pretend that we bought that BMW 3 Series in 2021 for $50,000, and now in 2025, we have paid off 3 years of that 84-month loan. In total, we paid the $5,000 deposit plus 36 months of payments at $690 or $24,840 total, meaning we still owe another $33,120 on the loan. We then head over to Kelley Blue Book to find the value of the car, and it looks like our 2021 BMW 3 Series is only worth about $28,000. We are now officially negative on our loan, or underwater as the industry calls it. We still have $33,120 left to pay, and if we sold the car today, we'd only get about $28,000, which means we are $5,120 underwater on our loan. Obviously not great, but we now know what we're working with. So what do we do now? The first solution you might turn to is refinancing. This is basically the act of selling your loan to a new bank that will provide you with new terms, potentially making your monthly payment less in the long run. More specifically, if your credit score has improved a lot since you opened the loan, or if interest rates have dropped significantly, refinancing might make a big difference for you. But if you're underwater on your loan by over $10,000, or if your car is old and high mileage, most lenders won't even bother trying to refinance for you. So it's really not a solid option to rely on. Other than refinancing, there are a few ways to get out of the mountain of debt you are building, but none of them are going to be easy. First, you could sell the car today and just swallow the loss before it gets any worse. The pros of this is that it's a clean break, but you need to have the cash to cover the loss, or potentially pull out another loan to cover the loss, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend. Second, you could trade the car in for a much cheaper car and set up a new financing plan on that car. This would get you into a cheaper car. You could roll off some of that negative equity into the new loan, but it will also dig you deeper into debt, starting you back at square one on a new loan. The third option is to completely lock down your budget and go as hard as possible to overpay your monthly payments and crush the balance as fast as possible. This requires the most work and discipline, but if you're willing to do it, it can save your credit in the long term and eventually pull you out of this endless cycle of debt. There's also a fourth nuclear option that should only be used in times of crisis because it can have some serious impacts on your financial future, and that is voluntary repossession. You can take your car back to the lender and willingly hand over the keys, which would immediately end your payments, but completely destroy your credit score. As you can see, this is not an option you would want to end up at, but if it's all you've got, then it's what you have to do. When it comes to debt like this, it can be overwhelming, but the longer you wait, the more your car value will drop and the harder it will be to get out of debt. So make the best decision you can today and just get moving. If you're in need of a car right now, here's a simple 3-step plan to get you the best deal. Step 1, get pre-approved financing from an external bank before you walk into the dealership. This will help you avoid dealer financing and other tactics they might use to get you to spend more. And step 2, calculate your all-in monthly cost, including insurance, gas, and maintenance, because this can and will add hundreds of dollars onto your monthly cost of owning the vehicle. And finally, step 3, stick to the 24-10 rule. A 20% down payment, a 4-year loan term, and keep the monthly payment below 10% of your monthly income. To make it easy, I linked a simple calculator below that will help you figure out how much car you can afford. When you use this tool, watch how dramatically the total amount of your payment changes by adjusting the term of the loan and the amount you put down. The shorter term loans will save you thousands in interest, even if your monthly payment is slightly higher. And just remember, everything is negotiable and you have the power to walk away at any time. The future of car ownership is to be determined. With some instability at the beginning of the year due to tariffs, prices haven't really come down yet. Although with the current trade talks, we're seeing some cracks starting to form, and if demand dries up like it has been recently, the prices will eventually be forced down. So if you're in the car market for a car, new or used, and have the ability to wait, that's what I would do. In fact, that is exactly what I am doing as someone who is looking to trade in an older, high mileage car that is getting close to its last leg. Analysts are currently expecting interest rates to drop between 0.5 and 1% by midsummer 2025, which could also save you $30 to $60 per month on a typical loan. And by the end of 2025, new car inventory is expected to increase by 15 to 20%, which will also put some pressure on prices, likely driving them lower. So if you can wait 6 to 12 months before buying, you'll likely end up with a better deal. At the end of the day, a car that you're going to drive daily is not an investment, it's just an expense. But if you don't want that expense to end up driving you into mountains of debt, take your time when making the decision and really look into the numbers that are being presented in front of you. Just because it looks like a low cost today doesn't mean you're actually getting a good deal. Don't be afraid to walk away from the table and do what's best for you and your wallet. And definitely don't overspend to get something that makes you look more successful. Instead, save some money to enjoy life versus being trapped under a crazy monthly payment on a vehicle you'll probably grow tired of in the next 10 to 12 months. And here's my challenge to you. Calculate your true car cost by adding your monthly payment, insurance, average maintenance, and depreciation. Then ask yourself, is this vehicle worth X% of my monthly income? What else could I do with that money? If you want, share your numbers in the comments and we can workshop what the best deal might be. And if you enjoyed this video, you might also like this video that breaks down the psychological trap of buy now, pay later tools.